I be sparking and rushing mad like inside the dark. Call me Bill Snatcher, just a brother for the rapture. I hang live, holding on strong, hard to capture. Extravagant, resurrect the track and it's militant. And I react like a convict and start killing. It's manifesting. The gods work like appliances, dealing in my cycle a lot.
Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys another discussion for Boruto Naruto Next Generations, the manga. And for anime only fans, this is the time of the month where a lot of the content that you see on the channel is going to be spoiler heavy, so I thank you for your support. However, if you're still here, I'm assuming that you're all caught up with the manga and you don't care about spoilers or theories, discussions of that nature. So with that being said, if you're still here, I'm assuming you read the manga. I think now we need to have a serious conversation about Eida and whether or not her ability is something that Sasuke is going to be able to actually counter. And I've seen a bunch of people say, well, the Sharingan should be able to break free of it. And I think part of the reason why people are saying this is that, oh, this comes off like a genjutsu and Sharingan can see through genjutsu. And yes, I totally see where you're coming from with that connection. However, I'm going to double down and say I don't think that Sasuke's Sharingan can break free of it. And there's a couple different reasons for that. Number one, Eida, and I'm going to say Eida and Eida interchangeably because technically it's Eida, but Viz Media changes to Eida. And I know there are a lot of people who use the Viz Media translation. I got slaughtered for not using the Viz translation back during chapter 56 during some of those videos, so you'll hear me switch back and forth every now and then. But the fact is that when it comes to Eida, one thing that you have to kind of keep in mind is the fact that she specifically said if you're not from her bloodline and if you do not have Otsutsuki DNA inside of you, that this ability will affect you 100%. And the reason why I think that we have to take that at face value is the fact that, number one, that's a common shonen trope. Typically when the villain starts listing out the weaknesses and everything like that, typically you can accept that unless they're giving you some reason to believe that they're withholding information. I personally didn't get that vibe from Eida, but what I will say is that when people say, well, Sharingan, if it works like Genjutsu, Sharingan should be able to break free of it, I'll say this, that's not always the case. A perfect example, which is why when I read the spoiler abilities, I compared it to a version of Shisui's Kotoamatsukiami, because that was a Genjutsu, but part of the reason why it was so damn deadly is the fact that it is so subtle that it makes you think that you're doing everything of your own free will. And when you look at the way Eida's ability works, especially when it comes to the subtle nature of it, it really reminds me of that, because look at how Code was reacting. The moment that Eida's ability kicked in, Code was sitting there, he couldn't bring himself to attack her. He was asking whether or not Eida actually cared for him. He was saying he was falling in love with her, and Bug had to tell him, like, look, you falling under her ability. And in that moment, it looked like Code started to kind of come back to his senses, but then the moment that Eida got right back in front of him, it was one of those things to where you started seeing Code slip right back going down that monkey train. And the reason why that's so interesting is the fact that it kind of reminds me of how Danzo used at Kotoamatsukiami at the 5 Kage Summit. He wasn't able to spam it multiple times throughout the day, but the reason why I compared it to Danzo's version of Kotoamatsukiami is that just like how Mifune, when he got told that he was under a genjutsu and he was able to break out of it, and Danzo's ability to use the genjutsu started to wear off at that time, maybe Eida has a time limit like that. However, I'm gonna say I do think that this is something that she has to constantly be using, but once she has you under that spell, it's always an effect. She just has to trigger that emotion inside of you, so that's something she has to consciously make that decision for. However, going back to Sasuke, if that is indeed the case, this opens up so many possibilities, because we're in a situation where when you take somebody like Sasuke who's already highly emotional, Sasuke is able to cut off his emotions, but Sasuke, the thing about Uchiha when it comes to their ocular powers is tied to their emotions, in particular that emotion of love. And so I'm really wondering if Eida getting in there doesn't do something to where it messes up that other eye that Sasuke has. The one that Boruto destroyed that at the Rinnegan, I'm wondering if there's some type of other effect that Eida messing around with his emotions could do, because essentially she's messing with the chemical imbalances in his brain by releasing all of those endorphins that are related to love. And so I'm wondering if there's something there. But the other thing too is, from a writing perspective, this opens up the door for so much conflict, because now all of a sudden you could have Sasuke, somebody who has been shown to be very loving towards his daughter, to have strong feelings for his wife. You could have a situation where Sasuke forsakes a lot of that stuff, and if that's the case, you could have Eida actually controlling Sasuke, making Sasuke actually turn against the very people that he loves. And the reason why that works narratively is it gives you the opportunity to create very real conflict in this sense, and it actually allows you to actually start showing off how dangerous Eida could be once she gets super serious. It isn't just about her ability to keep watch over all things that are happening simultaneously in the world at that point in time. It's not just that, but the fact is that Eida does have the ability to go back into the past up until the point when she was actually born, which means that if she was born at some point during Sasuke's journeys, when Sasuke is seeking redemption, knowledge is just as dangerous of a weapon as any type of ninjutsu. So she would see Sasuke struggling a little bit, and especially if it's one of those things to where she saw the events of Sasuke's sunrise and she had access to Sasuke's internal monologue, where Sasuke himself talked about the fact that, and I've covered this in a video, but talked about the fact that if anything happened to the people that he cared for, in particular somebody like Sakura, that he worried that he would fall into the darkness, and that if Naruto was not there to catch him, that he might not be able to stand on his own 2 feet. But that's something that he wanted to do, to not actually rely on Naruto for that. And the reason why that's so interesting is you could actually have Eida exploit that, and the way that that actually works in this sense is it kind of goes back to one of the themes of part 1 of Naruto, which is it doesn't matter how strong you are, it doesn't matter if you're the most skilled person out there. Sometimes the person with the more overpowered broken ability is going to win. Sometimes the smartest character is going to win. It isn't always about power. And when you look at how Eida's been written in this last chapter, she really comes off as a character that possesses power but doesn't have to use it. Possesses a broken ability but doesn't necessarily like to use it because of the love aspect, but has no problem using the ability to gather intel. That makes her a very dangerous character to actually take on. So I think controlling Sasuke, there's a few different narrative directions that could take. I mean, you could see Sasuke potentially choking Sakura, which, I mean, Sakura would probably like that shit, or you could see Sasuke go right back to what he did with Naruto Gaiden, where he pulled the sword on Sarada. There's so many different angles at which the writing could go if it does take this route. So my question to you guys is, would you be okay with Eida taking control of Sasuke? Which in a way is a great source of conflict, because the idea of Sasuke being forced to turn on the people that Sasuke himself cares for, given everything that Sasuke has gone through, walking through all these dark moments in order to reach a point where he's surrounded by love, having Sasuke betray that love because he's under the control of somebody who can't experience true love, that is a very poetic thing right there. And it opens up the door for Sasuke or somebody like that to actually save her from that darkness. Or do you think that Eida is one of those characters to where she's just so overpowered that she only needs to use this ability when it comes to a key moment in the series? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.